Well, hello there everybody, and welcome back to another episode of An Ecologist Plays, the channel where we are learning more about nature by playing games. And as you can see, we are back in Africa. We are in the Hunter, Call of the Wild. Now, our objectives are clear. We must hunt a springbuck. Now, of course, although this is a hunting game, we are going to be talking about the ecology of the organisms and the environments we also have as we go along. Right, so I have about 2 kilometers to travel, which is why I have got the a little ATV, all-terrain vehicle. That is what we are going to be driving around with. And this is quite a cool vehicle, must say. Although, of course, it is extremely noisy, so every animal in the district will be able to hear us as we're driving around. We are going to drive until we have the turn-off, which should be right over here. We're just going to make our way to that lookout tower in the northern parts of the area where we were. Interesting here where it says no fences. In a lot of African parks, or larger African parks, especially in East Africa, they don't have fences around the conservation areas, and humans sometimes come in, animals go out, that happens. This is more the traditional conservation way in Africa. However, a lot of South African parks, on the other hand, are more what we call fortress conservation, which is when we have fenced off areas and we keep people out and we keep animals in. It's basically a massive glorified zoo to some extent. Not a big fan of that. I would prefer, of course, if we didn't have fortress conservation, but then again, if you have a herd of elephants going through a city or a town, a lot of people are going to be extremely upset about that. So, to some extent, fortress conservation does make sense. Okay, so we have our male springbuck right over there, traveling in some direction, not sure where to. No female in sight. Very often you do find them in little groups, little herds, with males and females, so mixed sex herds. Not sure why that one is traveling on its own. This looks like a lion's poop. Yeah, that is very fresh lion poop. Oh dear. Okay, we should just keep an eye out. And it seems the lion has been walking in that direction. Oh, it's been running in that direction. May have been fleeing from us. Of course, the taller grasses here really making it difficult to actually see the animals. These taller grasses, after the rainy season, when it's the dry season again, they of course will be nice and dry and will help carry fires through this ecosystem. So generally during the winter months, at least in South Africa, that's when our dry season is, and we have summer rains in the savannas. And during winter then large areas of these would actually burn, and that will then promote fresh growth of more palatable grasses at the start of spring again. So fire really is an important driver within the savanna ecosystems. Of course, we do have a whole bunch of the Eurasian widgeons flying past over here, the ducks, but as the name suggests, they are from Northern Europe and Asia. They're not from Africa. This was, unfortunately, I think, a missed opportunity. The game developers really could have put in something like the yellow-billed duck, which does, if they wanted to have the quack sound, they could have put those in. They have got typical quack sounds that they give when they're flying around. Or they could have put in something like Egyptian geese, which are large game birds, ducks, or geese that are present in South Africa or in Africa overall. Or they could have had things like the whistling ducks, the white-faced whistling ducks, or the fulvous whistling ducks, or something along those lines. Really a missed opportunity. So many indigenous African duck species to bring in, and then they decided to pop in a Eurasian widgeon. Yeah, anyway, enough of that. Let's have a look and see if we can find a female springbuck. So, with me being an ecologist, I do tend to focus on the plants as well, very often, not just the animals. And here we, for example, this heart-shaped leaf. This is a typical Xanthodecia, or, well, could be taro as well. It's one of the Araceae plants in the arum lily family. There's another one over here. So that'll be things like taro. Taro also belong to that group there. Typically found in wetland ecosystems. So most likely in that little depression or that little area over there, slight depression, a little bit of water accumulating there occasionally, which will then be the perfect habitat for those plants. So I always like having a look at what plants I can see in games as well, because for me, it just makes the world feel more alive. Not just generic plants, but actually trying to figure out what the species are, why they are in the certain areas, those types of things. Let's have a look here. Along dirt roads, of course, you will be able to spot things like tracks and dung far more easily. And again here, the nails or the claws should be present in the track here. And you can see that at the tips there. Right over there, you can see the claws indicating that this is some kind of canid, some kind of dog that was running here. In this case, side-striped jackal. A side-striped jackal is the one that I have not seen. I have seen blackback jackal quite a bit. They are more common here in South Africa. Side-striped jackal you'll only find in the northern parts of South Africa, and I have yet to see one. I really want to see one, but unfortunately, to date, no luck yet.
Hey, little hare. The scrub hare, Mfundla. Like the savanna and the scrubs, as their name obviously suggests, they breed during droughts, and we've had plenty of droughts, so you'll find them zigging and zagging all over.
Interesting here, the tracks that you can see here, there are two different types of tracks. We can just have it being highlighted again. You can see the bigger tracks in the front here, and then the smaller tracks at the back. The smaller tracks in the back here are actually the front feet, and then these are of course those long back feet that the hares and the rabbits will have. So it was kind of like moving and then front feet over here and then brought the hind feet and jumped in that direction. So quite cool that they have got all these different tracks in the game as well. So of course hares and rabbits very closely related to one another. They are both in the lagomorph group, and there are some differences though, with hares generally giving birth to what we call precocial young that are born and they can pretty much run shortly after birth, and they're born with their eyes open, whereas rabbits have what we call altricial young, which is when the young are pretty much defenseless and useless. When they're born blind, they're born in burrows, whereas scrub hares, for example, here will just give birth in a little hollow in the ground, just scrape a little bit of the grasses apart, plop your babies down there, and then they can pretty much fend for themselves. But the rabbits will have very often warrens, especially if you're looking at more social species. They'll have a whole bunch of tunnels underground. They'll give birth down in the tunnels. The young are defenseless while they are in the tunnels. Only once their eyes have opened and they actually start moving around will they leave the burrow. Until that point, they are pretty much defenseless and completely dependent on their mother for care. Just, random differences there between hares and rabbits. If anybody ever asks you, well, there you go. Something was running at high speeds on the right hand side. That's a lion. Bye, lion. We're just going to try and stick to the road here so we don't accidentally drive over the nests of ground nesting birds, which would of course nest in the tall grass and the short grass depending on the species. We are conservationists after all. Let's stay on the road as much as possible. Alright. We have arrived at another little outpost over here. So we're just going to claim this as well. And then see if we can actually get some springbuck close to the pan that is in this area. Let's just have a look and see if we can spot any animals in the landscape here. Nothing as yet. We are just going to keep our eyes peeled as the sun comes out again. The lighting in this game really is amazing. It makes me really feel like I'm out in the African bush. Overall, the atmosphere of this game is just amazing. Even if you don't want to actually hunt the animals, even if you just want to take a nice little safari out in the African bush, this is definitely worthwhile picking up, especially with it currently being free on Steam. Now, the Virunga map, this one is not included in that download, but it is on discount at the moment. There's the herd of blue wildebeest as well. Males and females all together, typical herd animal, and they can occur in herds of up to thousands, or in the Serengeti's case, millions. Really, quite a social animal, very often also found along with zebra, because they complement one another in terms of their senses. With the wildebeest having better... Here we go, there are some more there as well. There's another golden wildebeest. Oh dear, we're going to potentially have to go and take that one out as well. Wildebeest have got better hearing and smell, whereas the zebra have got a better sense of sight. So they're able to spot predators more easily. So we are, however, going to try and sneak up. Thankfully, the wind is blowing from the right-hand side. We're going to try and sneak up on that golden wildebeest that is over there. We do not want the golden wildebeest taking over here. It's basically, as I've mentioned in the first episode, the color variations became more common in a lot of the game ranches, and each game ranch kind of prided themselves on how many of these color variations you could get. When I was a kid, many years ago, like 3 million years ago, there were a few white springbuck and black springbuck in South Africa, and that was pretty much it. And then after that, the black impala started. My wife, for example, worked on a reserve on the game ranch where the owner, as far as I recall, really popularized the black impala. And then the golden gnu and all kinds of other color variations started coming in. But in order to get it, you really line breed, basically inbreeding, like getting different breeds of dogs. Yeah, same thing there. And it reduces the genetic variability of a population, and in essence then it makes that population less adaptable to change. And we do not want that. We want to have as much genetic variability or variety in the population of the wildebeest here as we can possibly get. So we are going to try and remove that golden wildebeest that is right over there, and hopefully we don't have to go and track it for too far. I don't see any springbuck at all in the plains where I would think they would be, so we're going to settle for another golden wildebeest. Now, at one point, this was really a multi-million-dollar industry in South Africa. Every game ranch wanted to have special color variants, and it became very much like cryptocurrency at one point, where there was this massive bubble, and eventually you expected that it's going to burst at some point. And a bunch of colleagues and I, we were traveling back from a meeting, and on the way we were discussing this whole color variation thing, and all of us agreed that at some point the bubble should burst. And I think within 2 or 3 months after that, the bubble actually did burst, and animals that would have sold for R1 million or more were sold for much less than that. So that bubble eventually did burst. So we're just going to remove that waypoint so we have a clear view of our gnu that we are after. Thankfully, the wind is still blowing from the right hand side. We are just depending on our camouflage to slowly sneak up on the wildebeest, and hopefully they are going to remain calm. They still are calm. The nice golden wildebeest bull over there, they're all still calm, just eating, resting, just doing their thing. And that is going to be our target animal, of course. Alright, we are getting closer. We are currently 94 to 114 meters away, so it's quite close. In the 100 meters. I must admit, I have never actually shot an animal in real life. I've been on hunts, but I've never actually killed an animal myself. I have been able to make a shot at that distance on a relatively small target. So in real life, I would be able to at least hit the animal. But whether I would be able to get a proper shot on it is an entirely different matter. However, that wildebeest is now really just relaxing. It's nice and chilled. May still be a little bit too far. So we are just going to sneak up using the cover of the bushes to hopefully get close enough to get a good shot in. They are still calm. They haven't given any alarm calls. Of course, one really has to watch the behavior of the animals, and the wildebeest will give very specific warning calls in real life as well if they do spot a predator. That's just their way of communicating with one another that, listen guys, there's some danger over here. Run, Fricky, run. Okay, we are really very close now. And that should be it. Apparently not. Did I miss? Oh my word. Apparently no organs were hit. Well now. This is again a very unsuccessful hunt, I'm afraid, everybody. Okay, the wildebeest were in this general direction. There's one there, not the one that we shot. Still some running way in the distance. And there's a female lion. Oh my word, we finally found a lioness. Like, we've been seeing male lions the entire time. I was actually wondering whether there are female lions in this game, or lionesses in the game, but it turns out there are. There is another golden wildebeest. I'm not sure whether that is the one that we hit. Could be. But I'm afraid it seems that we are not going to be able to find the golden wildebeest that I unfortunately only tagged. Did not get a clean shot in it. And I'm pretty sure that creature, that one is still running and doing well, I'm afraid. Hopefully next time we'll be able to actually take out an animal without just shooting it. We'll actually be able to get a clean shot. Anyway, if you have any questions about ecology or nature, about conservation, about hunting, about all kinds of things, I may not be able to answer the hunting questions, but in terms of ecology and nature and conservation, I'll be able to answer any questions you may have. Do feel free to pop it down in the comments below. I will on Friday, Nick and I, my wife and I, will be doing Grounded again. We'll have another little Grounded video, and then on Saturday, of course, we'll have a Dinkum live stream again, where we're not hunting animals, well, apart from any dingoes that do decide to attack us on our way. But I hope you enjoyed the 3 episodes of The Hunter Call of the Wild. Remember, it is still free on Epic Games Store until Thursday. And then if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and also just subscribe if you haven't yet. It really helps the channel to grow. And until next time, everybody, stay safe, please do not be chased by lions, and we will see you all soon. Bye!